All right, let's get it. Today, I want to discuss critical race theory versus great replacement theory or white replacement theory. So, I want to start by reading the technical definition of critical race theory. Critical race theory, intellectual and social movement and loosely organized framework of legal analysis based on the premise that race is not a natural, biologically grounded feature of physically distinct subgroups of human beings, but a socially constructed, culturally invented category that is used to oppress and exploit people of color. That is a run-on sentence. Critical race theorists hold that racism is inherent in the law and legal institutions of the United States insofar as they function to create and maintain social, economic, and political inequalities between whites and non-whites, especially African Americans. Critical race theorists are generally dedicated to applying their understanding of the institutional and structural nature of racism to the concrete, if distant, goal of eliminating all race-based and other unjust hierarchies. And this is from Britannica.com. So this is not even a US entity who wrote this. Now, nor is it a black entity that wrote this, right? Because I don't want someone to say that I'm being biased as far as what critical race theory is and what it represents. And some of the language in this I don't agree with, like loosely organized framework, but that's neither here nor there. So now, let's read about white replacement theory or great replacement theory. The great replacement theory is an ethno-nationalist theory warning that an indigenous European, ergo white population is being replaced by non-European immigrants. The replacement concept was popularized by French writer Renard Camus in his 2012 book, Le Grand Replacement. Camus postulated that black and brown immigrants were reverse colonizing native white Europeans. Ethno-nationalist groups around the world, such as the American Identity Movement and Generation Identity, profess that great replacement theory. Let me read that again. Sorry. Ethno-nationalist groups around the world, such as the American Identity Movement and Generation Identity, profess that great replacement theory. I guess that makes sense. I don't know, kind of a crazy sentence to me. These two specific groups claim to be nonviolent, but others on the far right have used the great replacement theory to justify violence. For example, Britton Tarrant, who killed 51 people during attacks on two mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand on March 15, 2019, titled his manifesto after the theory and warned of a white genocide. Patrick Crusius, who killed 21 people at a Walmart in El Paso on August 3, 2019, also subscribed to the Great Replacement theory. Violent white nationalists believe they are ensuring the survival of their own race through violence against other ethnicities. And this is from counterextremism.com. So if you want to go there and read the whole article, you can. So after reading both definitions, right, you see one is about bringing America's true history to the forefront, while the other is based on opinions and racist opinions at that, that somehow indigenous people, people of color, brown people, black people are going to somehow replace white people across the world, but mainly in America because of immigration, what have you. The funny thing is, this isn't your land. You're not indigenous to America. But that's another topic for another story. So let's get into like some of the arguments that people have against critical race theory being taught in classrooms. And someone correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I thought that critical race theory was only a college class. I didn't think, or at least I don't think that it's being taught in K through 12. Like I said, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was only a college course that one can take. Um, but anyway, so the arguments against critical race theory, at least the main arguments that I see, is that, oh, this teaches white children to hate themselves. It teaches white children to have lower self-esteem because of slavery and all of this type of jargon that goes into how it makes kids feel, which is really like a silly argument to make because you can't argue how something makes someone else feel unless they tell you it makes them feel bad. You're really just guessing. You're projecting. But what about how European centric history make black kids feel? What about teaching black kids that they come from nothing but slavery? How do you think that make the black kids feel? What does it do to their psyche? And people who say, "Oh, I've never owned a slave. I shouldn't have to deal with this." Well, don't be mad at the teachers or administrators who want to bring this information to the forefront. Be mad at your forefathers. Be mad at your great grandfathers and great great grandfathers, the ones who owned slaves, the ones who participated in slavery. Be mad at them. Don't be mad at the people who just want to bring the truth to the light. So we get into a very dangerous dynamic here when the government starts telling, well, I guess in a way they've always had like curriculum standards, so there's always been a sort of aura of the government saying what you can and can't learn in school. But we really get into indoctrination here when we start telling educators that they can't teach about certain aspects of history just because it doesn't show America as a shining example. And it's really, really close to North Korean indoctrination, right? Or those other countries where they basically brainwash children and you can't say anything bad about the country. You can't say anything bad about the country's leaders. It's really, really teetering on that dynamic where we're like just really getting close to the same type of indoctrination that we rail against, the same type of indoctrination that we spend so much time saying, look at North Korea, look at their dictatorship, look at how they treat their people. We're getting very close to that here. This is the same type of indoctrination that they use in those other countries. We're getting dangerously close to it. So let's look at who's actually guilty of great replacement theory. So this map here is from Vox, and it's I don't know, I don't agree with the whole depiction here, but for the sake of this argument, I guess it'll do. But look at the key at the top, and I hope you guys can see this. But green is all of the places that were colonized by Europe. And keep in mind, Europe is small. Okay? Europe as a collective is small in comparison to other continents. But look at the green on the screen. These are all of the places that were colonized by Europe. So, who's really guilty of replacement theory? Or not even just replacement theory, because it's not even a theory at this point. Who's guilty of replacing indigenous people across the world, right? And claiming the land for their own. The same thing that they're angry about, the same thing that they're just so mad about and ready to kill for, and ready to kill anyone who doesn't look like them. They've already done it to a large portion of the world. I mean, talk about projection, right? So it's like when you hear someone say, go back to Africa, go back to Mexico, even though all Latinas are not Mexican. Go back to Asia. How about you go back to where you're from? I have even better suggestion. If you want to live in a land that's all white, where you don't want any people of color coming, I have the perfect place for you to go. Go to Antarctica. It's all white. And I guarantee no black people are coming there because we don't like to be cold. So if you want a land that's all yours, all to yourself, go there. You can have it. We will gladly give it to you. You might have to kick out the penguins. I mean, they got some black in them. But hey, Antarctica, you can have. Go there. Easy peasy, right? Start your own country. That land will be all yours. Okay, getting back to being silly. Sorry. Getting back on topic. So my question is, where is the UN? Where was the UN when all of this colonization was taking place? Why didn't they step in, or why haven't they stepped in and made a big fuss about returning the land to its rightful owners? Returning the lands to the indigenous people, and I remember a few years back, right, there was this big brouhaha, and I think it was South Africa, maybe Johannesburg, where the guy who took over said that they were going to take back the land from all of the white South Africans and basically kick them out of the country. And Trump wanted to weigh in and try and threaten the guy, and guys like, who's Trump? He's like, bring it. And I'm not about violently taking lands back from anyone, but I see his point. Like, you don't have a right to this land. You don't have a right to claim this land as yours. So while I don't fully agree with his actions, like I said, I don't agree with senseless violence, but like I said, I definitely see his point. But getting back to the UN, why isn't the UN stepping in to return the land to the rightful owners like they did in 1948? When they went in and kicked out the Palestinians out of Israel, They basically fought to have them removed so they can give the land to the current occupants. Why haven't they done that same action with everywhere else that's been colonized across the world? Just a thought. I want someone to explain that one to me. Explain the blatant hypocrisy. Well, I'm going to leave it there for now. That's all I have for this one. If you like the way I think, hop over to Patreon, check out some of my original short stories. It's only $1.50 per download. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss out on our future videos. And like always, I thank you for your time. Peace.